Hello, everybody. So yes, free Tommy Robinson. Let's get Tommy Robinson out of prison. He's a political prisoner. And as Jack has just posted in the chat, obviously, yeah. Right, let's get down to business. So first off, I want to cover a comment. It's not related to the topic tonight, but I want to cover it anyway. Did any of you see the live stream that me and Dino Bain did? I think it was, when was it? Thursday? Thumbs up if you saw the live stream that me and Dino Bain did. Guess not. Right. So in that live stream, we had a guy called Harry Fashman on. Now he's come out and made an accusation in the comments of my video. So I'm just gonna address it here. Right. So this is what Harry said. Are you going to kick off anyone who offers a differing opinion, then slander them when they're not there to defend the accusations vid? Like on Dino's stream the other day, a few days ago. I expected better from so-called patriots, yet that behaviour is akin to Hamas, Den, and the rude Islamist channels who only want to live in an echo chamber. Right, so let's cover that. So when you came into the live stream, Harry, you were going off topic, and Dino Bain constantly told you to stay on topic. We allowed you ample time to talk and to have your opinion, but you kept going off topic and talking about subjects we'd already discussed in previous live streams. So in the end, after repeated warnings, Dino Bain just kicked you from the live stream, and that was perfectly acceptable for him to do because you weren't listening. You just kept going on, and you weren't listening to what we were saying to you. And then you just went completely off topic several times. You were ruining the flow of the live stream. So in the end, Dino Bain just kicked you off. And that's what happens when you don't, in a way, you weren't yourself being polite in the live stream. It's polite to stay on topic and talk about the subjects that are being talked about in the live stream, not just go off topic and talk what you want to talk about. All right, Dino Bain takes no shit simple. Exactly, he doesn't. I just wanted to cover that before we got off and did this live stream, because I don't exist in an echo chamber. I think tonight's live stream proves that. I'll allow anybody in with a differing opinion and have a debate and stuff like that. The difference being between you and that is, Harry, is that you weren't polite. You came in a live stream, you were asked to stay on topic, you didn't stay on topic, so you got kicked out because you weren't listening. And that's nobody's fault but your own. Right, now I've covered that. Let's get down to tonight's business of the Farage supporters. I think really you could just call them Farage supporters, couldn't you, really? Rather than Reform supporters, because Farage is the Reform Party. It is him, isn't it? So what I'll do in a bit, is there anybody in the chat that actually supports Nigel Farage or is a supporter of the Reform Party? I know there are probably people watching right now that are. And what happens is, every time I do a live stream, I invite people to come into the live stream to have a conversation, and they don't come in. Then as soon as the live stream ends, they go into the comment sections of the live stream and start bad-mouthing me. That's one of the reasons I'm doing this live stream tonight. This is your opportunity to come into the live stream, have a conversation, and we can discuss the ins and outs of the Reform Party and what you believe, what I believe. That being said, until you make your decision, we've actually got an argument from somebody called Ben. He made an argument earlier. So I'll just show you the type of comments that I actually get on my videos from Reform supporters. So this is from Ben. So he says this: I'm not available Saturday night, but even if I was, I wouldn't waste my time on someone so inexperienced on politics. and logical common sense. It's like you have been playing, say, chess for 1 year, and then you set yourself up to tell everyone else how to play chess. It's crazy. That's complete nonsense, that first argument there, isn't it? Because anybody can talk about politics, and you don't have to have a master's degree in politics to see that Nigel Farage is a fraud. Life experience teaches you that. I mean, we only have to look at Boris Johnson. We can compare Farage to Boris Johnson because they're both charlatans. Boris Johnson lied to us. He said that he was going to do all these things, save the country, stop the boats, cut back on mass illegal immigration and immigration. Didn't do any of it. Didn't do any of it, did he? Right. It's on the screen. If you want to read it, you can read it. I went to Birmingham Reform UK conference on Friday. It was very uplifting and inspiring. 10 times better than I thought. This country is such a mess from Tory and Labour. It will take time, take some fixing. They have all been at it, and it's a nice way to put it. Yeah, whatever. Reform Farage, like I say, Reform Farage, like they're one entity, because that is that is correct. They are one entity. Reform Farage, yeah, that's one entity. Confirmed they will stop the boats, leave the ECHR. Right, let's look at that. Right, leaving the ECHR. He said he was going to leave it, but now he's saying it's going to be up for a referendum for the country to decide. So the minute they get in power, they're not leaving the ECR, are they? They're going to put it up to referendum. So they've already U-turned on that thing. So, yeah. Stop illegal migrants unless... What? Stop illegal migrants unless qualified. Don't even know what that means. Fix councils, excessive spending, cut costs by half. Yeah, but none of that means anything. I've said this in previous videos. None of that means anything. Getting rid of net zero, cutting council tax stuff doesn't mean anything if at first you don't make our country safe. The number one priority, and this is going to be the election winner in the next general election, the number one priority for this country is the illegal immigrants already in this country. They need to be deported, all of them. And this is why Rupert Lowe is so popular, because this is what the people want. 99% of Reform subscribers, because they're not members, want mass deportations of illegal immigrants. 67% of the general population of the country want mass deportations of illegal immigrants. Half of Liberal Democrats want mass deportations of illegal immigrants. And yet Nigel Farage doesn't want to offer that. So stopping the boats and then not deporting all the illegal immigrants already here isn't solving the problem, because you're still left with the problem of, 14 years of the boats and illegal immigration. So, yeah, your argument's absolutely rubbish. So I'll carry on. Cut costs by half with JCBs to fix potholes. Grow the economy. There is so much to do that they can't do everything at once. So what's the point in fixing all the potholes in the country? That's benign, absolutely benign. It's a low priority thing, isn't it, really? If you don't get rid of the illegal immigrants and make your streets safe, what's the point in doing all the rest of the stuff? There's literally no point. Hiring the tax bracket so people can earn more money before they're due tax means nothing if they can't go out and enjoy it in safety in the streets, does it? Farage didn't have to come back to reform for the July general election. No, he didn't, but he did. He jumped on a bandwagon. They kicked out the candidate that was polling to take the seat anyway in Clacton without Nigel Farage coming back. He parachuted into a safe seat, and now he's an MP. He's got something that he always wanted to do. And to be honest with you, he's pretty shit at it, because I've seen none of the fantastic speeches that he used to make in the European Parliament. To be honest with you, Nigel, Richard Tice, Lee Anderson have all been weak toast. I don't even know the other guy. He's insignificant. I can't even remember who that guy is. So the only one that shone out of all of them was Rupert Lowe. And that's why Nigel Farage got rid of him. Right. So he goes on to say, Farage didn't have to come back to July. He was retired and had 2 new grandchildren, but he did as he knew he could make a difference. What difference has he made? What difference has he made since he's actually come back? Nothing, has he? He's just become the mainstream. He's just become another Liberal Democrat Party. So what difference is he going to make? He's done absolutely nothing. Look at the statistics for the Reform Party in Parliament when we talk about workload. I think Rupert Lowe was doing something like, was it 47% of all the parliamentary work in Parliament? That's nearly half the workload. The rest of them, between them, the other 4 were doing what? Between them, they were doing 53%. So you're telling me that, Nigel Farage has made a difference since he's come back into politics? No, he hasn't. He hasn't at all. He hasn't even donated his parliamentary salary to charity, which would have made a difference to people, would it? Rupert Lowe has. He's helping charities out in his own constituency every month with his money. What has Nigel Farage done? What has Richard Tice done? What has Lee Anderson done with theirs? They've kept it, haven't they? And they're all multimillionaires, by the way. They don't really need the money they get from Parliament. Don't listen to any gossip towards Farage or Reform. It's only activists, ghosts, or other parties getting very desperate now. Now, that just sounds like something that's dogmatic, that isn't logical at all. That just sounds like somebody that is just dogmatic in their belief and is a part of the personality cult of Farage, to me. Right, let's have a look at his... This is his second post that he made on my video. So this is what he says. So he's replied to somebody else in this. Thanks for your polite reply. No, my ears aren't deceiving me. It's simple logic. Reform UK are the only ones who can rid the Uni-Party, Labour and Tories. What? By becoming Labour and the Tories. They're basically the Tory party now. They become so weak. I mean, Lee Anderson came on GB News and corrected a GB News presenter and said, we're not right-wing, we're a centrist party. So they've moved completely to the centre of politics, which is completely useless, absolutely useless. But where do they go from there? What can they achieve from the middle ground? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Ben Habib has said exactly the same thing. You can't achieve anything from the middle ground of politics because there's nobody there anymore. Maya Tusi said the same thing. People have made their mind up on all the issues that are up for grabs. You might get a few floating voters around the middle of politics, but not as many as there used to be. The atmosphere in this country has become so polarized that people are either right-wing or they're left-wing. There is not many people that are in the centre ground anymore. So basically, Nigel Farage just took his party to the centre ground to die. If you look at immigration, people are very much on the right of politics. They want mass deportations. They want illegal immigrants gone. They want a complete stop to legal immigration as well. UKIP are saying that. I don't think they go far enough, in my opinion. They want a 5-year freeze on legal immigration. I would say we need at least 10 years freeze on legal immigration completely to allow our country to recover and to actually make time to deport the people that need to be deported. It's apparently Nick Tenconi said it's going to take at least 5 years to remove the people that are already here. 5 years. Nigel Farage isn't going to remove anybody from this country. And he said so in his speech. If you listen to his speech, Dino Bain said exactly the same thing. He's talking about the people that are going to come while he's in power. He's not talking about the people that are already here in the country. And that's the issue. All right. And I was going to bring this up in my video today. I don't care about net zero. Net zero means nothing to me, getting rid of that. What means the most thing to me and many other people is the probably 500 or so unvetted illegal immigrants living down the street in a hotel that are free to roam around my town. That's the main concern for me. Safety of my children, safety of my family. And Nigel Farage isn't offering any solutions to that. He's going to give them citizenship, which is basically a Labour policy. Right, we'll carry on with his comment. So I'll carry on from this. Reform UK are the only ones who can get rid of the Uni Party, Labour and the Tories. Once Farage and Reform are in government, others will hold them to account. Well, surely if you're voting for the Reform Party, they should be doing everything that you want them to do. You have confidence in that party. Why do you need other parties to hold them to account? And you've just said they're going into Parliament to remove the Uni Party. So the only other parties in Parliament that would hold Reform to account would be Labour and the Tories. So what are you talking about there? That doesn't make any sense. And you talk about me being politically naive. There was only one horse in the race by looking for flimsy reasons. Flimsy reasons. I don't think not deporting en masse illegal immigrants already here is a flimsy reason not to vote for the Reform Party. It's a massive reason not to vote for the Reform Party, isn't it? It's the one subject that's dominated British politics for the past, 20 years? We've repeatedly asked to have immigration put under control, to stop illegal immigration and to have immigration put under control. And every consecutive government has ignored us on that subject. And you're calling me politically naive? Really? Wow. However, well constructed, it's just an unnecessary distraction, in your opinion. It's always best to go in a straight line, as it's the shortest point. By deviating all... Where are we? By deviating all over the place only makes the journey longer. Well, look at Farage. Farage flip-flops all over the place with his policy. His own branches were calling out for consistent policy so they can go to the public and campaign and tell the public what they want to do. They haven't got that. Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib were trying to get that in place. They were saying, we need consistent policy. We need spokespeople for different topics so that when we do press interviews, we can wheel out the people whose topic it is to speak on these things. So it's a consistent message all the way through. Nigel Farage doesn't do that. Nigel Farage gets in front of a microphone and makes up policy on the go. And this is something that Gerard Batten has complained about as well when he was in UKIP with Nigel Farage. He said Gerard Batten would work hard in making policy, in good, strong policy. Then Nigel Farage would get a microphone and completely rewrite everything that he'd done, getting rid of all that work. Nigel Farage is a liability because he centralizes power all around himself. He doesn't delegate power at all because he's scared of losing it, which is why the subscribers can't have democratic elections within the party. They can't remove the leader. They can't remove the chairman. Right. Sure, Farage or Reform UK are not perfect. No one is. However, Labour and Tory are abysmal, so not really worth considering. Yeah, but the point is, isn't it? The major point is that Reform aren't going to do the things we want to do either. So what is the point in voting for the Reform Party because you don't want the Tories or Labour to get in, but you're going to vote for the Reform Party who themselves aren't going to do everything that you want to do? You've just admitted they're not perfect. They're not going to do the things we want them to do. So don't you think it will be best to get behind something new in the 4 years? Because let's not forget, 4 years ago, Reform weren't polling this high in the polls either. And everybody was using the same arguments about Reform as they are using about UKIP now. Oh, they'll never poll any higher than they are. They'll just split the vote. They'll just do this. They'll just do that. These are all the same arguments that were used against the Reform Party 4 years ago. It's nonsense. You can break through into the mainstream if you get enough people behind you and you have enough support. It can be done. We just have to discard the parties that are no good, which is Reform, Labour, Conservatives, Liberal Democrats, the Greens. We have to ditch all those parties and get behind a real party to save our country. And until people are willing to do that, nothing is ever going to change. It's that simple. It really is. Right, so I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If anybody wants to come in and have a discussion, you can do. But as for Ben, you come across as a bit snobby, buddy. You really do. And I think you're the politically naive one. Right, I've dropped the link to come in into the chat. So if anybody wants to come in the live stream and have a debate, discuss their feelings on all of this, you're perfectly welcome to do so. But I want to give the Reform supporters the opportunity to come in and have their say and talk to me about it. We'll have a look at some of the chat. Right. So what are your guys? What are all your guys' thoughts on the Reform Party? What is your take from them? Is anybody going to vote for Reform? Who are you voting for? Tell me who you're going to vote for in the chat. UKIP, Reform, who? We have time for another party to form. It's time we had a fresh start. Bring the best in and make sure those involved are the ones determined to uphold their promises. Exactly. Couldn't agree more with that. I think the consensus is among everybody now is that Reform are a massive letdown. They're not the party they were before the general election. They've just drifted so far to the centre now. Some people are even saying they're centre left rather than centre right. And I agree with them. Never liked Reform. I have got a clue. I think it's going into civil war. A lot of people thinking that way. Have you seen lately? Keir Starmer is talking. They're getting an alliance together to put troops into Ukraine. It's not going to end well, is it? It's not going to end well at all. So let's see if anybody's actually going to come in. Right, I'll drop the link again. See if anybody wants to come in. I don't want to be on too long. I'm planning on ending the live stream at 9 o'clock because apparently Paul Thorpe is going to be on. So if anybody wants to come in, now is the time to do it. Posted the link again. The Coalition of the Willing. There's There's a reference to that in V for Vendetta, Vin. Yeah. They won't talk to you, Vin. They're cowards. Yeah, well, they've got an opportunity. Well, this is it, isn't it? I'm giving them the opportunity to give them a right to reply. To come in here, have their say. I'm not going to interrupt them. I'll let them have their say, and then I will have a discussion about what they've said. Nick Dinkoni would have more luck getting a militia of than Starmer getting 10 guys to follow him in. Exactly. Imagine what would happen if Nick Dinkoni and Tommy Robinson joined forces. Just tweeted you the reference, Vin. Thank you. I can't see anything while I'm doing the live stream. If I try to get out of the live stream and click on something else, it will crash. That's how bad my laptop is. Usually I can't have more than one other person in the live stream with me because it just lags so badly. Saying reform defenders have no counter to any argument against reform other than Labour bad. Yeah, exactly. That's the only argument they seem to use. We got 3 years of this. I'm full of cold and eating liver and bacon. So I'll come and debate another time, perhaps, Vin. Okay. As long as you stay on topic, Harry. +10 years supporting Farage, never again. I'm done with the snake. Exactly. Did you see the article about reform candidate in Lincolnshire who stole £30,000 of charity money? No, I didn't see that. Somebody's popped in. Right, let's have a look. Let's get rid of this. Hey, Jack,
Right,
how you
mate.
doing? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. You?
I'm doing great. So what do you want to chat about?
Yeah, I want to chat about something about the danger of ex-Tories coming to reform. I did this with Paul Fort yesterday, but I think we need to get the message out as far as wide as possible, because again, those who are sticking to reform, like, if they are unaware about the danger of ex-Tories coming into reform, what's going to happen is we're going to have a repeat of what happened with Boris Johnson, where we thought, oh, he was going to get all this stuff sorted out, but he did the opposite. And that's what's going to happen with reform when you've got these ex-Tories coming in and those like Rupert Lowe have been removed.
Well, exactly. They just don't see it, though, because they're blinded. They go to these rallies, which are just Farage ego-stroking sessions, as far as I'm concerned. There's no value in them. I mean, did you listen to the Birmingham rally?
Yeah, I did. And Rupert Lowe wasn't the same.
There was nothing in there. There's nothing in there at all for anybody.
Exactly.
It's like they don't get it. They're like all the mainstream parties. They're so far removed from us because they're millionaires. They don't understand us. With Rupert Lowe, he's worked with the working class because he's had football teams, stuff like that. He understands where we're coming from on certain issues. Yeah. Whereas you've got Farage and Tice, they're like the toffs. They're like the old school Tories of old.
Yes.
And they just don't get us. Go on, say that again, mate. You break up a little bit.
We need more people like Rupert Lowe in Parliament.
Yeah, we do. Exactly. And we're not going to get them with the Reform Party because they're going to fill Parliament full of people like that magistrate that they're going to put in Runcorn, who's an absolute Tory wet. And it's just going to, the minute she gets into Parliament, if she does get elected in Runcorn, she's going to defect to the Tories. I'll tell you that now. Because she's using Reform to get back into Parliament. That's what she's doing. And they just can't seem to see it, can they?
Yeah. And because of this, Reform UK is now sinking, and it's sinking fast.
Oh, yeah. They've dropped in the polls. They're not mentioning the polls anymore, are they? Because they've dropped another 2 points. They're way behind. I think in one poll today, they were behind both the Conservatives and Labour now. They're dropping.
Yeah, and Reform, the leadership in Reform, like CU said especially, they're not going to listen to us unless we get them to listen. And here's a way how that could happen: is if Reform members actually left the party and resigned, and they see the numbers go down, then they start to listen. But there's some people in the party who are not going to do that, are they?
No, I mean, look, the whole grassroots infrastructure has collapsed. All their branches have either disbanded or they've resigned over the sharp U-turn that the party's taken. It's not the party it was before the general election. It's not. It's completely different now. It's basically Liberal Democrat.
Yes, we voted for Reform last summer so they could deliver real reform, not to be the Tories or Lib Dems or Labour or anything like that.
I think what's happening here is that Nigel Farage has always wanted to be the leader of the Tories. So has Richard Tice. They've always wanted to be in the Conservative Party, but they were rejected. Yeah. So now they want to turn the Reform Party into the new Conservative Party so they can be the leader of the new Conservatives. That's what they want to be. It's got nothing to do with saving the country. And I'm going to say this. I say this every live stream. I watch for the warning signs. As soon as Nigel Farage got into power, the two union flags that were either side of him during the build-up to the general election were gone. And if you noticed the Reform Party conference, there are no union flags on the stage or anything like that. It's nothing like that anymore. It's in the crowd, but it's not on the stage anymore.
Yeah,
that should tell everybody everything they need to know.
Yeah, and also I was watching Paul Forbes' interview with Gerard Batten, the ex-UKIP leader, at the start of this year, and Gerard Batten, when he was talking about what Elon Musk said about Nigel Farage, Gerard Batten was right. It depends on how you want Reform to be led. If you want Reform to be another Tory party, then the people you've got there currently are the guys to lead it. If you want real Reform, you need to sort out the leadership.
Yeah, but we need Rupert Lowe. We need Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, like an Avengers team getting together, new party. They need to get Nick Tanconi in there with UKIP. There needs to be a place for him in this as well. Maybe some kind of alliance or a merger or something like that along the way.
Yeah, we'll need people like Howard Cox as well.
Yeah, basically everybody that the Reform Party has kicked out or Nigel Farage has ruined in the last 20 years need to be in this new party because he's got rid of this amazing team of people, and that's what we need. Hang on, right? I'm gonna have to ask you to leave, mate, because I've got somebody else that wants to come in and chat. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, mate. I shall see you around. Thanks for coming in, buddy.
See ya. Have fun.
You too, mate.
Hello, good day.
Hello, you're in.
I don't know if I can stay along, so the other guy can return later if he so desires. But like I was mainly like thinking about what kind of tactics like you would prefer, because like looking at the UK, you really have very bad electoral options. Like you don't really have many like good options. But like what I'm thinking is that you don't see any of the current political parties that like have any form of like seats anywhere that is like worth voting for at the moment. Is that correct?
There's literally nobody. There's literally nobody in this country worth voting for at the minute. The Reform Party is a massive letdown. We can't vote for them because the key things that we want to happen, they're not interested in. I mean, if you ask anybody in the street in the UK what the major concern is, it's illegal immigrants. That's the main concern of everybody here, because everybody's got a hotel just down the road from them with unvetted illegal immigrants in them, and everybody's worried about who these people are, what they're doing in our country, and they're roaming our streets and making them not safe anymore. You've only got to look at London. London's completely changed. It's a third world country. Birmingham, it's a third world country with violence. We see it on a regular occurrence now with machete fights, knife crime. We need to deport these people back to their own countries so we can make our streets safe again. And the Reform Party isn't offering that.
No, I actually completely agree with you on that. Like, I actually think that your country and like your government and like how it's been run, I actually think it's so bad that I'm happy that my Scottish family left Britain and moved to South Africa before I was born. So that's saying quite a lot about the state of your country.
Yeah.
So, but like, even though I think that all parties that you got are shit, right? And the problem I agree with is like the illegal immigration, right? Basically, what I'm thinking is that even though they're all bad, are they like all equally bad? Because at least for me, when I'm voting in any country I can vote in, right? When I like support a party, I never really support a political organization, or rarely support a political organization, a party, I mean, because I actually like what they stand for. I mainly just vote for them because of what I'm voting against.
Well, the thing is, we have a massive issue in this country because we've really got no political party that is for the people. None at all. They're all globalist in nature. They all want to push the globalist agenda, and we have nobody to represent us. We thought we had that in the Reform Party, and we don't, because they're just going to be more the mainstream that we've already had. The Conservatives aren't a Conservative party anymore. They're a mixture between Liberal and Labour, the Labour parties that have infiltrated them. The Green Party, there's no point in voting for them. The Liberal Democrats are a joke. Labour, well, you've seen what the Labour Party's like. We can't have them because they're just insane. And the Conservatives are just weak on everything. And the Reform Party is going to be the same. So the only option we have in the next 4 years is to get behind something new. That's the only hope we have. And I'm trying to convince people that because we have tribal voters, people don't vote for policy here. They vote for personalities. And Nigel Farage is a massive personality. And it's like we're trying to tell people he's not offering anything that you want. Nobody is. So we need to forget these people. They're the old way of thinking and get behind something new. But convincing people of that is very, very hard in this country because they're very tribalistic in the way they vote.
Yeah, this is actually what I'm thinking myself. I see a very big problem with politics. There's a lot of political parties. They seem to be like an extension of like one specific politician. It's just this guy's party, and which you see in many countries, and that like one person can't be a party, and one person frankly shouldn't be a party. And I do think it's like a huge problem with Farage is he is considering himself to be like the Reform, and he seems like to put his own interest above the interest of like the party, which is like very bad. And
well, the way he could have won, and it was such an easy thing to do, was to follow Donald Trump's model. That's all he had to do. Follow the way he was doing, surround himself with a team of really great people. And he had a team of really great people around him. But unfortunately, Nigel Farage centralizes power around himself because he's a narcissist. He doesn't want anybody that he perceives can threaten his leadership. And that's not a good leader, and that's not a good party to be a part of. But if you look at what Donald Trump has done, he surrounded himself with strong people, with leaders or leaders themselves who he can delegate power to and say, right, go and get that job done. Go and get that job done. But unfortunately, Nigel Farage isn't doing any of that. And that's why his party is going to fail.
Yeah, there seems to be quite a problem with like you have a party that's like certain parties in other countries, like for instance the Netherlands, you have like they had a party that was specifically like formed around one person, like one guy. He is essentially the Freedom Party, and he's the only member. So this party is literally like just founded as to be a base of one person, right? And that's like in the party constitution, all of that. But when it comes to Reform, like they don't really have that. It's just that Nigel Farage doesn't really have the like. He has a Stranglehold, even though that's not really in like the party's like written constitution, but he still has it, and he like tries to protect it at the expense of the like what the party's supposed to be about, and that's actually just very counterproductive because then you're not going to get anything done.
No, To be honest with you, I don't think Nigel Farage is in it to save the country. I think he saw an opportunity to become an MP. The guy that he kicked out of the place, who was standing in Clacton, which is Nigel Farage's seat that he's taken in Parliament, his constituency, was polling to win that seat anyway. But they saw a way to get Nigel Farage, and they parachuted him into a safe seat, and he got into Parliament. I don't think he has any plans beyond his term in Parliament. I don't think he has, because Rupert Lowe, Ben Habib, they were trying to push for proper, constructive policies behind the scenes. They needed a set of policies. They haven't even got that. They haven't got any concrete policies, because if you look at them, every time a policy comes up, they flip-flop about on it, or they all have inconsistent views on what policy they want to present. There's no concrete policy. And this is why Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe were kicked out. It's because they were pushing for that. And they were also pushing for the party to be democratized so that the membership could select leaders and stuff like that. But obviously, if you're a control freak and you're a narcissist, you don't want that, because you see that as a threat to your power.
Yeah, but do you know if the party is literally it's not structured to specifically be around Farage? Isn't just he trying to make it about him, even though it's not structured that way? You know what I'm saying?
Himself and Zaya Youssef are directors of Reform. They can't be removed because they've got equal shares. Those shares were supposed to be passed down to the subscribers, which would then turn them into members of the party, because they would partly own the party then. But instead of doing that, they both have an equal share in the company, because it is actually a company. It's called Reform 2025 Limited Company, and they were supposed to pass that power down to their members. They didn't do it, so there's no real way they can be removed democratically. It would take somebody to actually offer them money to buy them out of the position. So the Reform Party is structured around them to keep power centralized around those two people.
Yeah, no, I get it, but like I'm not saying that I want to support or defend the Reform Party, but I just questioning that. Do you want a political party to be structured democratically, or are you fine with if it's not, as long as it's done well and has a good goal?
Well, I think it should be democratically, because I would like their subscribers, because they are paying money into the party. They should have a say in who is leader and who is chairman and what policies they want to push forward. They should have the right to do that within the party. Because what happens if they get into government and we've got 5 years of people that are really doing a really bad job, and the membership can't remove them and change leaders for somebody who would take the party in the right direction? I think there's a real danger in that.
Personally. Yeah, I do think that having a democratically structured party would be much better than having a party that just would control like a Farage. I don't think it inherently that's a necessity for any political party in the world. I think there are examples of parties that aren't structured democratically that have been done pretty well for themselves. But I still think that having a democratically structured party is much better than having Farage, of course.
Yeah,
but
I mean, the thing is also, if anything happens to Nigel Farage and he is the party, then what happens to the Reform Party? It doesn't go anywhere, does it? Because it was all around him. It just collapses because the personality that is the Reform Party is gone.
Yeah, exactly. That can actually be quite a problem. But I'm also thinking when it comes to voting, we know that that when it comes to the Labour Party, they are basically the worst of the worst. They're basically in league with they're like the treatment of what they want to do to kids. I don't know how Labour is that, but there are so many so-called gender clinics in the UK, and I think that's kind of gross. But I don't have to go into that. But not only that, but they also seem to be very much in league with grooming gangs and Islamic extremists. The Labour Party, for all those reasons I'm talking about, are worse than the other parties. So basically, what I guess one defense in voting for another party that's already, I suppose, established. might be because they aren't as bad as Labour. Like, even though I don't like the Conservative Party, I do kind of can
I'll be
see
honest with you, right? I think a lot of people in this country feel the same way. We're tired of voting for the lesser of evils. We're tired of voting for parties that we need to get this party in power, because if we don't get this party into power, we're going to have this party. But we get that party and they're completely rubbish, just like the one we've just had. I mean, we did the same thing in 2019 with Boris Johnson. We voted Boris Johnson in because we didn't want Jeremy Corbyn to get into power. We're voting for lesser of evils again. We voted for Boris Johnson and he wrecked the country, maybe just as much as Jeremy Corbyn would have done. Maybe he wouldn't have done it as fast. Maybe Jeremy Corbyn would have done it faster, but Boris Johnson still wrecked the country. This is what I mean. We need to get out of this committee of, well, this party is not great, but we can't have that party in power. We need to scrap that way of thinking and just say we need to get behind something new, create something new, and let's get behind that. Let's make sure it's going to do what we want it to do, and then get it into power. Get the right people behind it. And I think the right people would be either Nick Tenkoni with UKIP, or if Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe from a party, those two, because they would get a good team behind them. That the rest of the parties are just not worth voting for at all.
Though that actually makes sense, but it's like, I don't know his last name, but he was called Nick, you said. Is he like currently in charge of UKIP? Because I've not been following.
Yeah, he's the UKIP leader, yeah.
Oh, but if UKIP is, and he's the leader, and the UKIP is still a party that exists, then I would support voting for them. I think that's a very good solution. Like, if they're still like...
Exactly. I mean, UKIP are offering everything that we need. To be honest with you, if Rupert Lowe is going to do something, he needs to do it soon. Same with Ben Habib. If they're not, then they need to come out and say so people can actually get behind UKIP and push them forward and boost their numbers, so that they're in a situation where they can contest the next general election, because that's what we need, really. Yeah. There needs to be a plan of action formed. I would suggest anybody in the meantime just join UKIP and get behind them, sign up for memberships and stuff like that, and get behind UKIP, because we can't take a risk that we can't wait forever that Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe are going to do something. Action needs to be taken now, so preparations can be made for the next general election. 4 years sounds like a long time, but it's not really. It's not really a long time at all. Not if you're going to build something new or get infrastructure built within UKIP.
No, yeah, that sounds like a good solution. I think that UKIP is obviously a better like choice than like Reform, because initially, like, I guess like actually a few days ago, like or a while before this whole Farage being a douchebag thing became obvious to everybody, then I was actually like preferring Reform above UKIP. But no, I think that, and I didn't think UKIP was a viable option, but I suppose that you kind of like opened my mind to it, that is a viable option that one should support and vote for.
You've got to think, all the criticisms being used against UKIP, saying, "Oh, they're not polling very high. They're not gonna do this. They won't get to a point where they can challenge." Well, all these criticisms were used against the Reform Party 4 years ago when they were polling exactly the same as UKIP. So it doesn't matter if what UKIP is polling at now. If people get behind them and they get support and they boost their memberships, they will start to rise in the polls like Reform Party have done. So I'm trying to get across to people that the power is in our hands to make this happen. Well, at the end of the day, a party is just a party unless people vote for it. If you don't vote for it or you don't give it support, then it won't rise in the polls. It won't do anything. This is why I'm encouraging people to ditch the Reform Party, because they're not offering anything that we need. They're just going to be the party that we vote for because it's the lesser of evils again. But let's get behind something new, either UKIP or anything that Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe come up with. I just want to answer this question as well, because this person's put. She says, Ben Habib is already building branches for the Great British PAC. Yeah, but the Great British PAC isn't a political party. They've already come out in the statement and said that they're just there to back up whatever right-wing parties come forward in the future. Say UKIP, they're there to advise UKIP on the best way forward with policy and stuff like that. That's what they're going to do. We need an actual party, right-wing party. This is another thing as well. I don't know what you think about this, but everybody keeps talking about the centre ground of politics. We have a hard left government that isn't in the centre ground at all. And our country is, do you live in this country, in the UK?
Oh no, I don't live in the UK. I used to have heritage from the UK.
Yeah, well, the country is very, very polarised. So at one time, say back in the 90s, there would have been a lot of floating voters that didn't know how to vote on polling day. So the parties would go to the middle to try and coax those people to vote for them. Well, as now we're in this age, basically the country is completely polarised. You're either left or you're right on the topics now. And there's not many people in the middle that are floating voters. So basically what Nigel Farage has done, he's taken the Reform Party in the middle, thinking it's still like the 1990s, when it's not. Everybody's polarised. This is why he's losing support on several issues, because people are saying, well, why are you going to the middle for? The middle ground is not where you win elections anymore.
Yeah, I actually kind of despise when like old people basically like presume that the political landscape is anywhere like the 90s. Like that was when I was born, and if you look at me, that wasn't yesterday. Like people really don't understand that today is that it's quite a hard time for my parents to understand that the left in basically every Western country is basically just like get in illegals to get votes to stay in power. That's basically all they're about.
That's all they're trying to do, exactly. And that's why Nigel Farage said in his interview, we can't alienate the Muslim vote, but the Muslims vote is never going to vote for the Reform Party. That we've seen, I would suggest in the next general election, most of them aren't even going to vote for the Labour Party. They're going to vote for these new independent Islamic parties that are forming in this country. And both Reform and Labour are pandering to them. And they're just not going to get the Muslim vote. They're just not going to get them. And all the voters that they've alienated in going for the Muslim vote won't vote for them either.
It also like seems to be quite outlandish that like people like, oh, we need to get the Muslim vote, we need to get the minority vote. Like it's very nonsensical. If you have a country that is democratic means that you have a majority rules. That means that you should always go for what the majority of the people want, not what a minority wants. That's like that's like. Pardon?
That's the trouble in this country, though. People don't. We don't vote for policies. They're tribalistic. So you'll get these people that have voted Labour all their lives, and their family have voted Labour, and they're simply voting Labour because they've always voted Labour. And it's the same with the Conservative Party and the Liberal Democrats. And that's why we have this. We never seem to break out of this two-party system, because they'll either vote for either Labour or Tories.
That's so idiotic, because like when I talk to me and I talk to my parents basically like have completely changed their voting habits from when they were younger until recently, and their political perspectives, because the political landscape changed. So when the political landscape changed, they had to change with it. I was too young, so I used to like grow up, and then this is just how it is for me. And if people can't do that, then frankly they're just dumb. And if they're tribalistic voters, then okay, then they're stuck. So you like try to like advocate for, or try to get the people who aren't stuck in the ways that actually are open-minded. Because I think there might be a lot of people like that. Like you doesn't just vote out of tradition.
Yeah, it's mainly in the north. The north is traditionally where people vote for the Labour parties, because that's where all the coal mines were. It's where all the unionists were in the old times, sort of thing. Where Labour actually grassroots came from was the north, even though now they're centralised in the metropolitan bubble where it's all woke and left wing, and so they don't really represent the working class people anymore. But the working class still vote for them en masse, because they've always voted for them. Anyway, is there anything you want to say? Because I'm going to wrap things up in a minute.
Yeah. Basically, if you said you want to you wanted to like challenge like reform voters, and I wanted. Do you know who the woman behind the YouTube channel Candid with Lubna is?
I've not heard of her. No.
Like there is like it's basically a woman who's like she's like born in Britain, but her parents like emigrated from like seen in Pakistan, and her channel is basically just about going after what a lot of Pakistanis in the UK do that are very bad, and she's very critical and against that. Basically, the summary, and she basically one of the people that I know that actually, to my knowledge, supports the Reform Party. And basically, like, and I thought that was like a perfect example if you wanted to talk to a Reform voter, because she does have like live streams like very often, and they're open. I've been on them several times. So I just thought that might be a good venue if you want to talk to someone who supports.
Actually, I might actually invite her next time I have a live stream and see if she'll do a debate. That'd be quite interesting. Right, I'm going to remove you from the live stream, and I'm going to tackle some of the comments before I actually leave. But thanks for coming in, mate. It was brilliant having you on. Thanks for coming in.
May I just post the link in the private chat?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. I'll just take a look at this comment. So this is from Templar. People here upset because Nigel didn't say about deporting all the people already here. So you vote UKIP, and what Libercons will end up winning. You're forgetting how many people will be stopped. They won't be stopped. They're already here. When you've got 1 million+ people here, stopping the boats isn't going to help any if you're not going to deport the people that are already here. It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, like,
so you're talking absolute rubbish. I'm sorry, but you are. I'll look at some of the chat. Right, so we didn't really get any of the people coming in that I wanted to come in. Right, Templar, right. You say you're going to stop millions, right? It won't stop millions, will it? Because the ones that are already here, we already have. People are estimating it's over 1 million. It could be even more than that. Those are the only people we actually know about. So those that are already here, the unvetted illegals that Nigel Farage will just give citizenship to because he doesn't want to mass deport them, will start to breed. They will multiply. And they're not going to take on our British values or our English values. They're going to take on the values of the country they came from, because these people won't integrate. So you're still going to have a massive problem with the people that are already here. We don't want them in our country. We want them deported en masse, and we want them gone. And the Reform Party isn't going to solve that issue for us. Of course, you didn't get the always Farage. Exactly. Mass deport, detain, deport. Exactly. Totally agree with that. That's what needs to happen. The illegals that are here for 5 years will bring their relatives in. Exactly. And let's not forget, right? The Reform Party isn't going to leave the European Court of Human Rights. They're going to put it up for the referendum for the country. So they've already U-turned on that. And what happens if the vote is not to leave the European Court of Human Rights? What if that happens? Then these people are going to go to the European Court of Human Rights and demand that their families be let in. And then there's nothing the Reform Party can do about it. Right, Harry. Nigel Farage will not scrap the European Court of Human Rights. He won't do it. What he's going to do is going to put it up for referendum so he can wash his hands of it and say, well, it wasn't me. I didn't not do anything. I just put it up for a referendum and people voted to stay in it. That's how he's going to get out of it. That's how he's going to get out of having any responsibility regarding the European Court of Human Rights. Might all have a great sunny tomorrow. Yeah, you too. Is what caused the problem. Exactly. And this is why we want a party that's going to go straight into government and say, we're leaving it. Because we don't even have to leave it. I mean, the current situation, we could just ignore it. The European Parliament does it all the time. The European Union ignores the European Court of Human Rights all the time. Look at Hungary. Look at the way Germany can mass deport illegal immigrants. Look at other countries that can do it. They just ignore the European Court of Human Rights. It's not a matter of wanting to, it's just a willingness to do it. Civil Servants Home Office needs overhaul too. Exactly. And do you really see the Reform Party, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice, being able to take on the might of the civil service, the overbloated civil service, which is really the deep state in our government, when they can't even take on news reporters of the mainstream media? Can't see it happening. Let's have a look. Definitely check that out. So I was reading the chat, guys. Sorry. Right, guys, it's getting to 9 o'clock. I'm going to end the stream here. So nobody actually came in. Hang on, we've got another one from Templar. We'll give Templar. And they got Nigel said that there could be a referendum, which I think is democratic. We don't need a democratic vote on the ECR. We need to leave it. We need to completely leave it. We need a party that isn't going to do a referendum, that is just going to go in there and say, right, we're coming out of that. We're leaving it. We don't need a debate on it. We don't need a referendum on it. We need to leave it. Nigel said there could be a referendum, which I think is democratic. However, the official Reform UK policy on the ECRJ is to leave. He'll have a referendum on it because he hasn't got the balls to leave it himself. He'll leave it up to the country. People will vote to stay in, and then he can wash his hands of any responsibility for it, can't he? Thanks, Angela. Right, guys, I'm going to call it a night. That's it. Thanks to everybody for coming to watch. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Go watch my videos. And I shall see you all in the next video. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'm going to end it. A bit disappointed nobody actually came in to defend the Reform Party. So, yeah, it looks like they're all pretty weak and can't defend the Reform Party because it's indefendable, isn't it? It's not a defensive position. Nobody can defend the Reform Party because it's just become a mainstream party. It's just another version of the Liberal Democrats. It's a worthless, pointless party. My suggestion to everybody is get behind UKIP. And if anything happens with Rupert Lowe or Ben Habib, well, we'll deal with that when we come to it. Maybe we can have some kind of an alliance and get parties into Parliament that can actually change things. Right, guys. See you all soon. Thanks for watching. This is Vindicator signing off.